Good morning, everyone. It's Lazy Sunday here. Thought it was Monday. Through the middle of the night. Well, another week. Starting. Well, no, it's Sunday today. Lazy Sunday. It's about 56 degrees in the house, about 45 outside. Got the door open. It was funny, we were sitting out, all three of us here, sitting out on the porch. It was about 40 some degrees, and I said, should we make a fire? We were sitting out on the porch, right? Should we make a fire? It's gonna get cold again. When I think people who live in real cold temperatures during the winter. I mean, we're talking cold, in certain places of the world. And, 40 degrees to them is probably, yeah, that's fine. Put the winter clothes away. And here we are, right? Yes? Okay. Well, all right. Let's get going here. Let's see what we have today. Feel like I'm making a little headway. Look, you guys, we're through this much so far. Still have all this to go. Oh, there's Sage calling. Yes, got to go out there today. Okay, let's see where we are at. Leviticus 15. Oh, sexual impurities of men. Yahweh spoke to Moses and Aaron and said, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when a man has a discharge from his body, that discharge is unclean. While the discharge continues, the nature of his uncleanness is as follows. Whether his body allows the discharge to flow or whether it retains it, he is unclean. Discharge. Well, I'm not a man. I don't have no idea what that even is. What they're talking about here. I guess guys know what that is. But it sounds like it's contagious. Anyone who touches his bed must wash clothing and bed and will be unclean until evening. Anyone who sits where the man has sat must wash clothing and body and will be unclean until evening. Holy cannoli! How bad was this, and what was it? Anyone who touches the body of the man with the discharge must wash clothing and body and will be unclean until evening. How would they even know? I mean, I'm sure that was kind of a private thing. You have to tell everybody. Whoa. If the man with the discharge spits on someone who is clean, that person must wash clothing and body and will be unclean until evening. Any saddle the man has ridden on will be unclean. All those who touch any object that has been under him will be unclean until evening. Well, it has to be some kind of a virus then, because that a virus usually when it's hits the air, not all of them, but so this must be some kind of a virus that then by evening time it's dispelled. I need to go read up what kind of diseases they dealt with a name. Anyone who picks up such an object must wash clothing and body and will be unclean until evening. Okay, let me write this down. I wanted to find out too about the skin diseases, what they actually dealt with. It's just interesting to know. Sometimes, some diseases we don't deal with anymore, or they're under control, or there's medicine for it, and one doesn't have to, right? Yeah. But I mean, every once in a while it happens that something we thought was kind of eradicated, right, out of this world, we're not carrying it anymore, pops up again someplace. It's just good to know about this stuff. Which reminds me that in the essential oils, which I think essential oils are pretty amazing. You got to be careful with them, though, because they're so concentrated, right? You use very, very little, or you take some of the oil and you dilute it with another oil that doesn't have anything in it, or, just like olive oil or coconut oil or something, to then not have a skin rash or something, right? Because of the strength of the essential oils. But I remember there was one called Thieves, Thieves, and during the times of the plagues, right? People are still working there. This now, okay. It was interesting to read up actually on plagues. We did that some time ago, and a study on in a little village in England about that, and how people died, and some got it and got over it, and some didn't get it, even though they took care of their relatives and this and that. And the one thing with what they found is in the blood, there are different markers, and the ones that died didn't have none of these markers, and then the ones that got the plague but survived it had one, and then the ones that didn't get it at all had two, right? Yes. Blood makes a difference, right? And it was interesting. And the thieves' oil, so they would take this a specific combination of smelled like spices. One seemed really strong. It was cloves in it. I felt like they had cloves in it, and they would put it on handkerchiefs or something and put it around their nose and mouth, and they wouldn't. They didn't get it. So they call it, if there's a breakout or this. The thing is, I never even thought of that when COVID went around. I wonder if, one never knows. Some old recipes, some old things, sometimes, what you got out in nature seems to work better than anything else. To prevention, mainly for prevention too, right? Anyway, so there you go. That just came to my mind. Okay. The earthenware vessel he touches must be broken, and any wooden utensil must be rinsed. Once the man with the discharge is cured, he will allow 7 days for his purification. He will wash his clothes and wash his body in running water, and he will be clean. On the 8th day he will take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and come before Yahweh at the entrance to the tent of meeting and give them to the priest. The priest will offer one of them as a sacrifice for sin and the other as a burnt offering. Getting sick was a sin here in the Bible. Certain things that made you sick because you're doing what? Okay, I don't know. And in this way, the priest will perform the rite of expiation for him before Yahweh for his discharge. When a man has a seminal discharge, he must wash his whole body with water and will be unclean until evening. What does that entail? I have no idea. Any clothing or leather touched by the seminal discharge must be washed and will be unclean until evening. When a woman has had intercourse with a man, both of them must wash and will be unclean until evening. Oh, okay. You kind of doesn't want to do that kind of, Okay. All right. I mean, if you read this, isn't there something that comes to your mind? Okay. All right. I'm not going to go there. It's what it says here. One thing one could say is everything should be taken in small portions, kind of thing, right? Okay. In moderate portions. if one indulges too much in anything, right, it loses its flavor. All right. Of women. Oh, here we go. Whenever a woman has a discharge, and the discharge from her body is of blood, she will remain in a state of menstrual pollution for 7 days. Menstrual pollution. Ugh, dear me, sounds nasty. Anyone who touches her will be unclean until evening. Okay, there's something else that comes to my mind again. Okay, Daniel, don't go there. It's people don't like to talk about sexual impurities, STDs and certain other things. Most people keep that kind of behind closed doors and hidden and it's a private thing kind of thing, right? Yeah. But here, kind of God's like, no. If there's a problem, you need to let others know so that you're not, right, become a spreader of something or whatever, right? And for certain other things here again too, and how this is written down, you look at the positive of a woman. Okay, that's her time. No touching, no this or that, right? And it's a good thing. That's a good thing too. And nobody can do poor children. They don't get to touch mommy for a long time or something. I mean, okay, how's this meant? Anyone who touches anything she has sat on must wash clothing and body and will be unclean until evening. If there is anything on the bed or where she is sitting, anyone who touches it will be unclean until evening. Okay. If a man goes so far as to sleep with her, he will contract her menstrual pollution and will be unclean for 7 days. Any bed he lies on will be unclean. Man, guys get this desperate? That's sad. If a woman has a prolonged discharge of blood outside the period, or if the period is prolonged during the time this discharge lasts, she will be in the same state of uncleanness as during her monthly periods. Any bed she lies on during the time this discharge lasts will be polluted in the same way as the bed she lies on during her monthly periods. Anything she sits on will be unclean as during her monthly periods. Anyone who touches it will be unclean and must wash clothing and body and will be unclean until evening. Dear me. Okay. Once she is cured of her discharge, she will allow 7 days to go by. Oh, could that kind of, if the men be the same? I guess they pee blood sometimes and stuff. Oh, okay. Could be the same thing, in a way. Once she's cured of her discharge, she will allow 7 days to go by. After that, she will be clean. On the 8th day, she will take 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and bring them to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Man, those priests must have been really busy all the time. Can you imagine? I wonder how many women they had there. Oh, dear me. Okay. The priest will offer one of them as a sacrifice for sin and the other as a burnt offering. And in this way, the priest will perform the rite of expiation for her before Yahweh for the discharge which made her unclean. That's an interesting one. I wonder, Father, why would you require that? You kind of created us as... I'm more talking about the women now. It's a natural thing that just occurs. Maybe again too, when you read about certain other places in history, hundreds of years ago, the hygiene of the people was atrocious. Okay? Yes? Yeah. I bet many diseases kind of started because of that. Right? And so maybe this is the importance, right, of keeping your system cleaned up, right? Things that could create a lot of problems, right? Yes, that's it. Blood can. Okay, all right, all right, all right. So I think it's a precaution. The precautions for things that could spread through a whole camp because of of hygiene, not proper hygiene. Okay. Conclusion. Hence, you will warn the Israelites against contracting a state of uncleanness, rather than incurring death by defiling my dwelling which is among them. Such is the law governing a man with a discharge who is made unclean by a seminal discharge, a woman in a state of pollution due to menstruation, a man or a woman with a discharge, or a man who sleeps with a woman when she is unclean. All right. Well, one thing I think that we're getting here is give the woman the rest. Okay. That's it for 15. What's next? The great day of expiation. Let's see how many chapters there are in Leviticus. Oh. 27. 27. And we're in the book of Numbers. Good. Okay, got 10 more to go, guys. No, 11 more. Okay. Well, I thought that was going to be a little more interesting. But then again, if one really were to get into it and really study up, maybe if the what these diseases exactly were and why there was such a high level of cleanliness important, needed, would one could better understand this. All right. Tis what it is, you say. And that is that. Right, Gus? I'm making this a little bit of a shorter one. No, it's just if I don't have anything else to say, I don't have anything else to say. It's interesting on how things at that time are things are mentioned, and I think of today, so many thousands of years later, on how it amazes me that at that time they already had so many problems, right? Yes, I mean, what do we deal with today? I just watched there was a little video where packaging, has, they called them PFAS, and they're toxins in the packaging mainly, and stuff, and dark chocolate. Can you believe it? I'm sure not all dark chocolate, but how do we know which dark chocolate has some of these PFAS in it? Toxins and PFAS, these toxins, they stay for long term in your system. Cancers have been linked to it, this and that. Then we have all this other stuff. We deal with pollution. We deal with so much garbage. There are things out there that create certain environments now for human beings that are a bit detrimental. But at that time, they didn't have that, right? And there weren't that many people. At that time, 1 million people in a nation. That was probably a lot. Yes, I'm assuming. Yeah. And but they had a lot of room to take care of things. Just you would think people had to be taught how to be clean at that time. I guess I don't know. Well, people still have to be taught today. All right, does that mean you take a shower 3 times a day? And just think all the shampoo, this, that, going down the drain as well into something that, water's water, right? Yeah, okay. Anyway, don't know. I have to say I'm really proud of my children. Most of them, they very, very conscientious about the ecosystem around the world or where they live, and they use things that with a quarter or even less um, detrimental ingredients in there what they use, right? Yes, here too we try to be really conscientious about what we use. As told about the bees. Anyway, if everybody just were to do a little bit, yes. Oh, makeup, by the way, too has these PFAS in it. Yeah, isn't that kind of an oxymoron? So you're putting things on your face that make you look prettier, but in the long run, they're going to cause problems for you and make you look more ugly. Okay, I'm just saying. Again, there too, I think there are products that maybe not long lasting on your lashes or this or that, right? They might just be good for 2-3 hours when you go to a party or a ceremony or something, and then it's kind of okay. It's run its course. It's not long lasting like other stuff that you have on all day long, and you look the same in the morning and in the evenings. You put it on in the morning. Yeah, one has to wonder about these kind of things, don't you think? Yeah. I'm not. I can't say that I'm for or against makeup or whatever. I don't wear it. Gosh, so much time in front of the mirror. It's not a hobby of mine. Well, anyway. So, but if everybody just were, right? Yeah, yes, pay a little bit more attention. What you put in your body, what you put on your body, what you, again, the garbage you create, and what goes down your drain, right? Yes, yeah. Yeah, it probably would help. Yes. Well, anyway, that's what I wanted to share this morning. God's love and blessing always, and may He protect you. And I will talk to y'all another time.